Good morning. How are you? It's Friday. It's 11:15. I'm later than planned today. I've been teaching this morning at the studio, and I am just back home where I can do a live video with good internet, because the internet just has not been working properly at the studio for the last while. So I am talking about is all yoga yoga? And the reason I'm talking about that is because I saw something very recently about how different types of yoga aren't real yoga, and gym yoga isn't really yoga, and that sort of idea. So I wanted to talk a bit about it because I think it's really important. It's something that we all need to think about. And I'm going to say straight up, yes, all yoga is yoga. There's different styles of yoga. There's different ways of teaching yoga. And what's right for one person isn't always going to resonate with someone else. But that doesn't mean that it's not real yoga. It's important to understand that whatever it is that you enjoy in your yoga practice really can be very different to what somebody else enjoys. And there's so many different elements to the yoga practice that we need to be a little bit conscious about not being so judgy, not being so judgmental, and understanding that there's so many different aspects to the practice that what's going to work for you maybe isn't going to work for someone else, and what works for someone else isn't going to work for you. But ultimately, whether you're getting on the mat and doing a physical practice, or you're doing a pranayama practice, a breathing practice where you're working with breath control, or a meditation practice, or you're working on living mindfully, being very present and living a good life. There's so many different aspects to the yoga path that we follow, the 8-limb path, that actually it's very difficult to say that something isn't yoga. Yoga is being in the present moment. It's the now. It's being mindful. It's doing no harm. And good morning, Richie. And I feel like if you're dedicating yourself to a practice, whatever that practice is, then that's definitely a part of the yoga practice. You're doing something. And then some practices will be very much physical. It'll be about the asana. Some practices will combine the physical with the breath. Some practices are all about the breath and not so much about the physical at all. And then you might have a meditation practice, or there's so many different ways of practicing yoga. It's important to understand that your way is the right way for you in this moment. It might not be next month or next week or next year, because your mindset might change, or your body might change, or you might be drawn to something else, or you might just try something else and realize that you like a different style of yoga more. So we're constantly changing, and our practice is constantly changing, and what we're looking for on the mat is changing. So I would hate for anybody to tell me that what I teach or what I practice myself isn't yoga, the same as I'm sure somebody else who's teaching a yoga class would not like to hear that from me either. And I really wanted to put that out there, because sometimes we see other styles and they're really not what we're into at all, or we see that maybe there's things that it might be injurious, the sequencing might not be great, for example, or different techniques might not be amazing alignment wise, but you know, we don't need to bash any other style of yoga. You know, we do what works for us, and we you know, other people do what works for them, and eventually you try different styles and you change the way that you practice. And I definitely don't practice the way that I did when I started yoga. I have a completely different practice, and you know, I don't, like, your teachers change, and what you look for, what you need from your time on the mat changes. So that's really important. If nothing changed and you didn't learn anything from your practice, then I feel like there's something missing, right? So so yes, all yoga is yoga. It might not be your yoga. It might not be what you need or what you want in this moment. But it might be what somebody else needs. It might be what brings them to the practice in the first place, or it might be something that they've been drawn from one style to another because it's what they need in that moment. Good morning, Claire. So it's not for anyone to judge what anybody else's yoga is. Good morning, Carol. Yoga is whatever you need it to be. It's being present. It's dedicating time to something. Or maybe just to being present. It might be yoga off the mat. It might not even be on the mat. But it's being dedicated, showing up again and again, doing, you know, whatever style it is, the movement, the breath, the mindfulness, the living to your highest truth, you know, doing as much as you can do to be the best person that you can be, and that's what it comes down to. So so if somebody is practicing like a style that is not for you, or in a studio that's not for you, or with a teacher that's not for you, who are we to tell them that that's not right? You know, like I ended up in a situation a good while back, maybe, you know, a year and a half ago, where I went to a new class, and I got talking to a girl before we went in. We had an amazing chat about the class that I was going into, and she was telling me she absolutely loved the class. It's amazing, you're going to love it. I've been going for 2 years, and I didn't love the class. I didn't like it at all. And then when we were finished, she came flying over because she wanted to know, did you love the class? It was, you know, it was amazing. Did you really like it? And I didn't want to tell her that I didn't like it, because that was the practice that she loved. She loved it. She'd been going for 2 years. Who am I to tell, you know, to tell her, no, actually, I really didn't like that practice. It was, you know, it wasn't for me, because then I ruined her experience and what she was getting from that time on the mat. So, so I just wanted to put that out there today, because yeah, I mean, I know that I am guilty of, or have been guilty of having that, maybe that attitude of, well, that's not real yoga, or what is, you know, thinking that your style is the only style. And I'm sure everybody has gone through that at some point or other, but I would hope that maybe you can think about it, if you haven't done already, and try and see the bigger picture, and maybe realize that actually, regardless of whether you like the teacher, or you like the studio, or you like the style, that it has some place in the yoga practice. It might not be the highest place for you, but it has some place, and that's always a good thing, right? It's always good that people are getting on the mat and they're doing something to to build their yoga practice, whatever that is. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it for today. If you have any comments, do pop them into the comment box. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And if you want me to talk about anything on Friday mornings, just let me know. I'm here every Friday. This weekend, I'm working all weekend. I'm teaching in Pure Health tomorrow morning, and then I am over in Maynooth for pregnancy yoga. And then Sunday, I have 2 workshops. So there's still space if anybody wants to join me. Sunday morning, 11 o'clock is going to be a half an hour or short meditation, and then a little over 2 hours of a vinyasa flow workshop. So it will be a strong class, suitable for anybody who's been coming to my classes, or people who maybe are used to a vinyasa class, or are training to be teachers, or are already yoga teachers. And then the afternoon on Sunday is it's an advanced assisting workshop with Mae Smith. So we are going to be going through some of the assists on poses that you wouldn't ordinarily get in your 200-hour training, that you wouldn't normally cover, and just helping you to go a little bit deeper and to get the opportunity to experience some more interesting assists that you might want to work on. So if you're still interested in one of those workshops and you haven't booked in, you can let me know, because there are still a few places left there. If you fancy a regular yoga class, join me in Pure Health. I have a class at 9:30 in Pure Health on Saturday morning. And if I don't see you in the meantime on the mat, I will see you here live on Friday at 10 a.m. So thank you so much for watching. Talk to you very soon. Bye.